Hi guys, Olive here. Here today with an annual tradition of mine. Every year around Valentine's Day, I like to give you some Booktuber recommendations. I've been a Booktube viewer for far longer than I've been a Booktuber, and I still watch so many Booktube videos per week from small channels and big channels alike. I am constantly finding new channels that I'm adding to my feed, and so I like to take this opportunity at least once per year to draw your attention to some channels that I think are totally worth your time. I also like to do these shout out videos at least once per year because I know very well that I did not get to where I am at right now totally in isolation. Plenty of people have showed my channel support. They've shouted out my channel on their channel, and I'm extremely grateful. And I'm the type of person who doesn't forget where she came from. I also am of the opinion that if we as a Booktube community are going to say that we're warm and inclusive, then we need to act that way. If you yourself have received supports, then it is always the right time to pay it forward. The only problem I run into is that I would love to shout out every single channel I love, but I just don't have time to do that. So I do have some criteria that I follow when I pick out channels to shout out. The first thing I focus on is whether or not the person has similar taste to me, either in book taste or maybe their personality is somewhat similar. I want there to be some crossover so that if you're here on my channel watching my content, and you like what you see, hopefully then you will also like what they have to offer you. I try to shout out channels that have under 1,000 subscribers because from personal experience and from everything I've seen, it definitely seems like those first 1,000 subscribers are the hardest to get when you're new, and then it's much easier after that point to experience exponential growth. So these are the channels that I would really love to see grow. And lastly, I try to pick people who have been at least semi-actively posting over the past few months. I cannot tell you how many times I've had my heart broken when I fall in love with a new booktuber's content only for them to disappear off the face of the earth about a week later. I don't want that to happen to you as well, so I try very hard to pick people who I feel pretty sure are going to stick around, at least for a little while. So with all of those things in mind, let me recommend you some channels. The first person I'd like to recommend is a Canadian booktuber. Her name is Jill, and her channel name is The Book Bully. I first discovered Jill's channel during Nonfiction November, which is actually the time of year that I discover a lot of new channels. So as you would probably guess, she does read a lot of nonfiction, and our tastes definitely overlap there, but she definitely also does read literary fiction and some genre fiction. One of her thumbnails has a Mad Men reference in it, so it was meant to be. Next up is Kamari at Surviving My 40s. I first discovered his channel when someone tweeted about him after he had posted a Reading Rush TBR this past summer. I clicked on that link, of course. I love discovering new channels. And I found that he was so relaxed and fun to watch. You can definitely tell that he had experience in front of the camera. He was completely comfortable. I've since found out that he has a second channel, so that makes sense. That other channel that he has seems to be more general YouTube type of content, but it seems like he made this one, Surviving My 40s, specifically to talk about books, which of course we love here on Booktube. I do have to mention that he does post a little bit more sporadically than I find ideal, at least. I would love to see all of these people's faces in my feed at least once per week, but I know that's not always possible. But I couldn't not mention him in this video because he is such an interesting person to watch. He reads from all different points of view. He's curious about the world. He's got this relaxed California vibe to him. He's got this really soothing voice. He is great fun to watch. The third person I'd like to bring to your attention is Laurel Ann at Insert Book Pun Here, not to be confused with the lovely Jennifer at Insert Literary Pun Here. Laurel Ann actually mentioned in one of her early videos that she came up with the name of her channel before she knew that Jennifer's channel existed. Booktube can be a little hard to navigate sometimes. But anyway, Laurel Ann has amazing book taste and she is such a fun personality. She reminds me of both Veronica at Ron Lit and Emily at Possibly Literate. She's American but lives in Scotland, and so far her tastes to me have seemed like mainly literary fiction but with some nonfiction and genre fiction thrown in there. There's always a good mixed bag element to her videos, which I really like. Then there's Heather over at Soggy Expat Book Nerd, another American expat, as her channel name would suggest, but she actually lives in Wales, and it's super interesting because she definitely has an American accent, but you can tell she's been in Wales long enough to pick up a little bit of it if you know what you're listening for. I kind of study accents if that's not clear. I've just recently started watching Heather's channel regularly, but I am already so obsessed with this series of videos that she has going, where she comes home from work over lunch, as she said she already does most days, and she just sits in front of her camera, has lunch, shows you what she's eating, and just talks about the books that she's reading. It seems so simple, like anyone could think of that, but it's so lovely the way that she executes it. It really does feel like you're just sitting down with a friend over lunch. So I've made a habit of watching those over my lunch. As silly and sappy as that sounds, it really does feel like I'm just sitting with a friend, and I love it. Since I have started watching her more recently, I don't know her taste too well yet. That's part of the fun of watching a new booktuber, is learning their book taste. But so far it seems like it's a lot of literary fiction and nonfiction. So far from what I've seen, it seems like she has a similar taste to Mercedes over at Mercy's Bookish Musings. Next up is Sophie over at Redhead Reading, and I'm already grinning because she has one of those channels that you just can't help but smile when you watch her. She is a ray of sunshine. If all of the good qualities of Booktube could be personified, you'd end up with Sophie. She also reads such an interesting mix of things. She reads fiction, nonfiction, young adult, middle grade, fantasy, graphic novels. She's personable. It's just nice to be able to spend time with her via her videos. Then I'd like to recommend an Australian booktuber. That's Bear over at Bear Reads Books. The tagline for his channel is "Book Nerd with a Beard." And I have to say, it's effective advertising. It's a very nice beard. Bear reads a lot of literary fiction, so I think if you like Sarah at Hardcover Hearts, Jacqueline at 6 Minutes for Me, Sean the Book Maniac, that kind of very literary fiction aware crowd, then his channel is definitely one you need to be watching as well. He does also read some nonfiction and classics, but from what I've seen of his channel, it's mostly literary fiction. He's participating in the Booktube Prize this year as a judge, but on the fiction end of things, I'll be very much looking forward to his updates. My 7th recommendation is the lovely Shannon over at That's So Poe. I've actually been watching her channel for quite a while now. She actually summarizes her own book taste in her channel bio, which is a very good idea, by the way, and very helpful for the purposes of this video, by saying that she reads fantasy, sci-fi, historical fiction, especially romance, historical nonfiction, especially biographies and microhistories, nonfiction focusing on feminism and social justice, and classics, which I've found to be all extremely accurate. She does weekly reading wrap-ups, and she does participate in a lot of different challenges going on around Booktube. So it's fun to see her participate in those, and it's also fun to just kind of find out that they're going on. I don't know about you, I have a hard time keeping up. She's also extremely well-spoken and poised. Highly recommend her channel. Next up is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine, and as you can probably guess, she is normally enjoying some tea in her videos. She'll tell you all about what tea she's drinking. There's also normally a cat cameo in her videos. I find her very entertaining. I get a kick out of her. She primarily reads classics, mysteries, and history books, so I think if you watch Kate Howe and Katie Over Books and Things, she's a good one to watch as well. The penultimate booktuber that I highly recommend is Jenny over at Bookish Shenanigans. She is so bubbly and vivacious. She's another person that just immediately puts a smile on my face the moment I press play. She's a PhD student studying Victorian literature, so obviously the classics make up a large part of her reading diet, but she also does really enjoy literary fiction. I think if you like the book taste of the aforementioned Jennifer, at insert literary pun here, then Jenny's channel might also appeal to you. And then for my final recommendation, I would like to strongly suggest you check out the channel A Cup of Books, run by the lovely Emma. In this recommendations video, I've been drawing a lot of comparisons between these channels that I recommend and existing channels that I think you may have already heard of, that you may already be watching and enjoying. I think that's very valuable. But of all the channels I've recommended here today, I'd say Emma's channel is the most similar to mine. Both in our reading taste, we have a lot of overlap in our reading taste, specifically with nonfiction and classics, although she does read a lot more sci-fi and fantasy than I do, but also just kind of who we are as people. I would say that both Emma and myself are unapologetically nerdy. And I think that's pretty great. Emma has a thing for dinosaurs. She loves to learn about dinosaurs, read about dinosaurs, but that is certainly not where her nonfiction taste ends. Emma has this inquisitive, open nature to her, and her delivery in all of her videos is so self-assured and composed. I love watching her videos, and she posts them on a regular basis, which I very much appreciate. So I think if you enjoy my channel, you absolutely need to be watching hers as well. So those were 10 booktube channels that I think are absolutely worth your time to check out. I will include links to where you can find all of these lovely people down in the description box below. And as I say in my own channel trailer, subscribing and unsubscribing are both free. So any of these channels that seem interesting to you, I highly suggest you give them a try, and I hope they eventually become a regular part of your booktube viewing just like they are mine. Of course, if you have any booktube channel recommendations for me, booktube channels that you think I personally would enjoy, please feel free to put those in the comment section below. I love finding new channels to watch, obviously. But if you have any more general comments or questions, that can also go in the comment section below. But you can also find me on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles will be in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.